And Matthew is the perfect example, young people, of what Christ has continued to do, what the Lord has always done in the past, and what he continues to do in the lives of human beings on this earth. Matthew was a tax collector around 1st AD. And if you know anything about tax collectors in biblical history, you know that tax collectors were some of the most conniving, some of the most thieving, some of the most unjust people in that particular time that you could ever come across. Y'all, a tax collector was greedy. You're talking about people who collected taxes, the denariuses, the Roman coin. The people who collected those taxes would often tax people even more so that they, as the tax collector, could take that money and pocket that money and do with it whatever you pleased. So when people knew you were a tax collector, they could not stand you. As a matter of fact, my young people, the same is true a little bit today, maybe not in those words, but if you want to pay close attention, watch your parents around April 15th when taxes are due in the United States of America. And I promise you will start to see a shift in your mama or your daddy or your caretaker. You're going to be like, man, mama, what's going on? What's going on is their taxes is due. And they ain't feeling that thing. So it's bad enough you got to be a tax collector, man. Back in those days, tax collectors were real cheaters. And Matthew was no different. He was no different. So in the word of Matthew, you see that one day, Matthew, in chapter 9, he's sitting in his tax collector booth. And he's doing his thing. He's getting his money. He's getting his coins. He's counting that thing like, yeah, I got it going on, making this money today. Matthew had never seen Jesus before. And all of a sudden, Jesus makes his way to Matthew's tax collecting booth. And I can only imagine what it was like, but I have an idea. Like, you know those situations in your life, young people, when you were cutting up in a public place and your parents was right there looking at you and they give you that look. And it's that look like they ain't even got to say nothing to you. They know, like, you cutting up, you got to get it together. Like, I remember being a kid in a store called Apple Tree. It was a grocery store. They're not even around no more. But I can remember me and my brother cutting up in the aisle, and my mama would, like, look at us, and she, like, spoke, but she wasn't really, like, speaking words. She was like, well, you better get something, you know what I'm saying? All right? Or else, and me and my brother knew we had to straighten up, because if we didn't straighten up, we was about to get that belt. That belt. Oh, young people, y'all ain't trying to hear me. That belt. Some of y'all ain't never had experience with that belt. Some of y'all ain't never had experience with that belt. So I'm looking at Jesus and I'm reading the text, and you can go back and look at this. Jesus is looking at Matthew. Matthew chapter 9 says all Jesus had to say in 2 words. He said, Matthew, follow me. Follow me. 2 words. Show you how powerful our God is. 2 words. Matthew immediately dropped everything and began following Jesus without question. You see, Matthew, his heart was good. He had a pure, clean heart. The only problem was he fell in love with that fast money and got trapped. The same thing goes on today, like those situations, like we are good people by nature, but sometimes we make mistakes. Matthew had made a mistake. But the beautiful thing about the God in which we serve, you see, our God can look past your past and focus his attention on the promising future that you could have if you dedicate your life to him. And so that's what Jesus knew about Matthew. Yeah, he was a tax collector. Yeah, he was terrible by nature. But God said, yo, you get some of me, the rest is history. And that's the same thing that he wants to do in each and every one of you. So how did it work out for Matthew? What is the first book of the New Testament, ladies and gentlemen? I say it worked out pretty doggone good. Matthew is a great example of how God takes imperfect people and uses them for his perfect and amazing plan. I don't care how many mistakes you have made in the past, young people. I don't care about what you did yesterday. I don't care what was going on with you last year, years before. Yo, we all have a past. Raise a hand if you have a past. We all have one. Do not feel like you are not worthy to come to the Lord up above, ask for forgiveness, and say, Lord, take me as I am, and think that he will not step in right on time and do so, as if nothing ever happened, because he is the definition of forgiveness. Not I will forgive, but I won't forget. No. He forgives, and we move on.